So welcome everyone. My name is Brian Nunez. I'm the Director of Marketing and Events here with the WGASC ADLA. And you are joining us for a Getting to Know the Winds division with WGI. We are joined by the WGI Director of the Winds division, Wayne Markworth. I'm going to read a few items about Wayne. Wayne was the Director of Bands at Centerville High School in Ohio for 35 years. He developed the marching band known as the Centerville Jazz Band. Wayne received music education degrees from Indiana University and Northwestern University, and in 2007, he was inducted into the Bands of America Hall of Fame. He is currently adjunct faculty at Wright State University and is the author of The Dynamic Marching Band, a textbook on marching band techniques. And again, Wayne is the director of WGI Winds. Welcome, Wayne.
And thank you very much. Glad to be here.
We also have with us WGI Winds Chief Judge Wayne Dillon. Wayne Dillon is the former director of bands at Elizabeth High School in New Jersey. He is currently the chief judge in the Winds division of WGI. He also adjudicates for BOA and serves as a music judge liaison for DCI. Wayne also serves as an educational clinician for Conn-Selmer. Welcome, Wayne, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Brian. It's great to be here.
Also joining us, some ADLA faves, we have Mr. Mike Leitsky. Mike Leitsky is the Percussion and Winds Assignment and Education Coordinator for the WGASC ADLA. Mike brings national level prominence to our organization. He is currently the percussion caption head at Franklin High School in Tennessee, and he is also a top tier adjudicator for WGI, DCI, and BOA. Welcome, Mike.
Good to see you guys. Thanks for having me tonight.
Awkward pause. And lastly, we have Mr. Ed Martinez. Ed Martinez is the Percussion and Winds Coordinator for the WGASC ADLA. Ed brings a wealth of judging and administrative experience to the WGASC ADLA. He is currently an active adjudicator for the WGASC, ADLA, SCSBOA, WBA, and DCI. We are so grateful to Ed for sharing his talents with us. Welcome, Ed.
Hey, everyone.
All right, so this time I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Mike and Ed.
Great. Thank you for the introduction, Brian. So as Brian mentioned, both Mike and I are very excited to have the two Waynes with us this evening. I guess we thought we could hand it off to Wayne Markworth first and kind of tell us, I guess big picture, hey, what's going on with WGI Winds, especially as we kind of come out of the COVID year, and a lot of groups are sort of like marking the return to our competition, or in some cases, some people were able to perform last year, but we'd be kind of excited to hear as to like what's going on.
Yeah, we are planning a full season with a full schedule of regionals and championships in April, like we last did in 2019. And we're also going to offer an option for a virtual participation for groups that maybe can't travel for one reason or another, for finances, or maybe because of protocols in their school district. So we did that last year. That's all we did last year, of course, but it was very successful. We had 35 groups participate in our virtual championships, lots of solos and lots of ensembles. So we also will be adding a virtual solo track for anybody interested in that.
Great. How did the virtual season go last year? I know I had the privilege of judging an Atlantic Indoor Association AIA virtual show, and I know Cleveland High School from down North Carolina was one of the groups I got to judge that weekend, and they did like a full production, it seemed like.
It was really interesting. It was fascinating because we had the full spectrum of what groups could do as a possibility. Some pretty much full-blown shows in a gym. Some of the circuits I know had local circuit shows. So some of our recordings were from that, all the way to one group in Florida that because of their circumstances had to do their performance in the woods. And they did a very creative performance. It was fantastic, and it started out, you're just looking at a bunch of trees and you don't see any kids, and then the music starts, and one by one they start coming out from behind the trees. So and there was also an e-showcase, which was anything goes. And there were some really interesting things there with video montages and everything you can imagine. So it was very successful. We were happy we were able to offer something like that with our WINS judges making commentary, and it was well received.
So what's different, or what's big, I guess, for 2022?
What's big is we're back.
Yeah.
We're back in person. We hope that's the big thing. And you may be seeing it in your circuit also, but the signups are starting to come in, but they're coming in real slow, which is often typical of WINS because most of the group's directors are involved in marching bands. So they kind of have to get the marching band all wrapped up. And this year, especially, wait a little while longer to see what's going to happen down the road. But I'm pretty sure it'll pick up and things will look good.
Great. Wayne Dillon, we'll try to keep it straight throughout here. Congratulations on your appointment as a chief judge.
Thank you, Ed. I refer to the other Wayne as Wayne 1, and I'm Wayne 2.
Oh, okay. Well, congratulations on your appointment as a WGI chief WINS judge. Can you tell us a little bit about what that role, that responsibility entails?
Sure. It's, well, probably the first job is just to, get a sense of the roster. We're always looking to have great qualified people, and so that was a big push, and it will continue to be a big push in trying to look at diversity and a lot of other factors. Then it's basically scheduling the competitions. As Wayne mentioned, it's a full array of assignments this year, along with the virtual. So it's assigning the judges to the competition. So that took quite a bit of time. That's done now and completed, but that took a little time. And then really it's at the shows, it's just monitoring, the process of the show. Everything's running smoothly. Everyone's turning on their equipment correctly, and everyone's in the correct scoring ranges and that type of thing. Monitoring the critique at the end, just making sure everything is working smoothly. And that type of thing. And it's a communication job, basically. It's just to stay in touch with the judges, get a sense of what's happening with them. Obviously, there's a training component, and we would normally do that live. This year, it's still in a virtual setting, so we'll do that at the start of January. But normally, we would bring the judges in, and we would have our practice sessions. We would do some training on whether it be numbers management or tape commentary or whatever that might entail. So that's it in a nutshell.
It looks like we have our first question from Robert Lowry.
Wayne, good afternoon, good evening. I had a question. You're saying that the numbers are coming in slowly for the ensembles to register. Do you see a growth, or do you think it's going to be, status quo this year? And where do you see it going?
I don't think it'll be status quo. I think we'll be down just a little bit. If we're down 10, 15%, I would be happy at the end, just because of all the unknowns. And some of the reason for fewer groups coming out is it's a real struggle for the independent groups to find, mostly just to find rehearsal space. So I know a lot of the groups are struggling for that and may not be coming out this year, whereas they would. So hopefully we'll see a little more pickup in that, but that's a real challenge for them.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Going back to Wayne too. So what have you seen, I guess, in terms of changes in WINS judging over the last few years? I guess from the inaugural season from a couple of years ago, till about now. Has the paradigm really at what you're looking at, has that evolved along with activity as it's evolved as well too?
Yeah, I think so. We started in 2014. Along with Wayne 1, I was there from the start, and like many people, we didn't know really what it would be. We saw groups come out that had color guards, that had flags and rifles and sabers, that had WINS, that had some had marching batteries, some had someone with a mallet cat at the back. So it was really unique in that it wasn't like the other activities. Like a drum bugle corps, for the most part, you know what you're going to get, right? You're gonna get brass instruments, you're gonna get a pit and a battery. With the winds division, it's like complete apples and oranges and kiwis and bananas and grapes. It's all out there. It's a literal fruit salad.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that makes it really unique and really exciting. So it's not like these, specific things that you have to kind of just, you have to check that box. It is whatever the director wants the thing to be, whatever is best for that program, right? So maybe they didn't have a huge turnout for the marching band, but they have enough wins. I think you only have to have 10, right? And correct me if I'm wrong on that way. 10 is the minimum. So you can get kids on the floor. They can have any aspect of instrumentation. And if you want to include the visual components, I mean, some kids come out with streamers. Some have now in the winds division, depending on the category you're judging, you might not be able to give that big time credit. For example, if I'm doing music analysis, I probably can't talk so much about the streamers or the flags, but the overall effect people can. Right. So somewhere your kids are going to get feedback. They're going to find out about the activity. But the beautiful thing about it, and to answer Ed's question, I'm going a long way around it. That part is maintained. So it hasn't become like this, like the other activities. You know exactly what you're going to see. We never quite know what we're going to see from the groups from year to year, and which is pretty exciting.
Yeah. And I'm guessing since winds is similar to guarded percussion and the sister activities like DCI and BOA, it's instructor driven, right? So I guess what are the instructors like as they try to? It's almost like they're building a plane as they're flying, right?
Yeah.
What's been the input from like the instructors or from the groups themselves as to the direction they want to go?
Well, like any activity, you're going to get some people that want to kind of move it in a direction, and we do have a steering committee. And so they already are looking at sheets. They're already looking at modifications, and if they think we'd like to have this worth a little bit more. Currently, we have the overall effect at 40%, broken down 20 and 20 in the sub captions, and music analysis is 30%, and visual analysis is 30%. So everything is upstairs, and those the two analysis are also broken down 15 and 15 per sub caption. Essentially, it's a content and achievement box, similar to what we all know about. So, there's some talk about, do we want to weight this more? Do we want to give that? And that's natural. That's going to happen. So there is a little bit of that. But again, the thing I was saying, which is still remains true, is no one is saying you have to do this. You can't have flags. You can't have a battery. I think people are starting to figure out numerically, the people that are, look at it that way, that, as I mentioned, in music analysis, the emphasis is on the winds, right? That's what you're scoring. Not even so much on the percussion, not even so much on any other element. It's really just nuts and bolts about them. So some people have figured out, I guess I don't need to do all of that, but if my points are over here, if that makes sense. Yet in the overall effect, it's everything, right? But I still think, it gives a director a chance to put out whatever he or she deems is best for that program. And I don't know if I can say that for any other activity. And I'm part of the other things like the marching band and the drum corps. And so this is quite unique in that regard.
Yeah.
And if I could chime in on that, one of the things that's really unique about WGI Winds that's different from our other divisions too, is the accompaniments to the winds. Now, it could be a front ensemble. Typically, the front ensemble's in the back that works better. It could be a little bit of a battery, although there's people have to be careful that it's not too loud indoors. But a lot of the groups are using click. Well, I call them click tracks, but they're much more than that. Soundtrack accompaniments, and there's been a lot of discussion about that. But what has transpired is a lot of these winds groups also have percussion groups in their schools, in the scholastic class anyway, and they don't have enough kids to have percussionists in both groups. So the solution has been to use a soundtrack as the accompaniment, and that took a while to develop, but the last couple of years, they're doing phenomenal things that are like studio quality accompaniments. And so that, to me, that's really exciting.
Yeah. Another thing that's exciting, and this is go to what we talked about with the training that's going to come up. They budgeted us to bring in some special people that come in and do some of the in-service for us. And one of those people is Aaron Beck. And if you don't know what Aaron is, he works for Cirque du Soleil. He designed the Michael Jackson studio where that show took place in Las Vegas. He's also worked with the Blue Coats. He's their sound designer, and he's worked with Avon with their indoor winds. So he's going to come and be part of our training for the judges. And we're looking at Jeff Saptic and Wes Pendergrass and some of those other people to come in as well. So we're really excited about those opportunities in developing it further for sure.
Awesome. We've got a wide spectrum of attendees this evening. Some people with like a rich background of doing winds groups at a national level here in SoCal and across the country, like Robert. But we also have some people who maybe this might be their first experience doing it. And I know from my own personal experience, judging different circuits across the country the last couple of years, is that there's a pretty wide spectrum, right? So what advice would you give to that band director or instructor that they may be dipping their toes, or it basically, especially with the COVID layoff, it's a brand new set of kids, basically. Like what recommendations, advice for both you guys would you give to those groups that just maybe don't have a lot of experience or just aren't quite 100% sure what to expect?
Well, one thing that I would say is one of the real advantages of WGI Winds is the individual kids wind up playing their instruments so much better, and they take that back to their concert bands, they take that to the jazz ensembles, they take that back to their marching bands, and they take the leadership skills that they learn. Most of the groups practice between 3 to 6 hours a week, I would say, so they're getting that much more time with musical instruction on their instruments and with the horn on their chops, so they're getting better. So especially coming out of COVID, as you asked, there are a lot of people that are playing catch up because of what happened. And those we're here on Zoom, but those poor people that had to teach band on Zoom, that was a real challenge, to say the least. So this is a way to maybe jumpstart their groups, and like I said, it'll expand all their groups, not just the WGI Winds activity.
Yeah.
Wayne too?
Yeah, the folks that I've spoken with that are currently doing it and have done it for a few years now, they don't feel like something has been left out, or they're not doing concert band, or they're not doing jazz band. Like everything's up and running. And as to tag on with what Wayne said, they're finding that it's actually improving things. Like the kids are getting more emphasis on tuning, balance, blends. It's all the stuff you would work on in any ensemble, whether it's marching band or your concert band or jazz band, but they're getting more of that. They're getting more performance opportunities. The kids are coming back more confident, as more seasoned performers, and they're finding that as they get into the remaining part of the winter and the spring, that the kids are that much further ahead with it. So, I know initially when we got started, there were some people sort of saying, well, does this mean they're not going to do the other ensembles, the indoor? And the answer is no. And it's not just no, it's like it's actually made some of that better.
Yeah. I know a lot of questions that we get just regarding percussion in general is that, what are the expectations? Do they have to get a floor? Do they have to get props? Or like, what's that, is there a big barrier to entry, I guess, financially for like what you guys have seen across the country?
I'll jump in first. In speaking with some of these folks, a lot of these folks are utilizing equipment they might have used in a different season, or borrowing something maybe a color guard had used or something like that. So I'm hearing a lot of that stuff. As far as props, not necessary. Do some use them? Yeah, they do, but not every one of them use them. Some of them have that smaller floor where they just can get out and design a fantastic visual presentation, and it might not necessarily always look like traditional marching. It could be staging, it could be movement and dance, or whatever. That's the other thing that's cool about it. We talked about the free reign as far as instrumentation. The movement part of it is a completely different animal, and you'll see some groups will do traditional marching with it. Some groups are all about movement and staging and that type of thing. So it's really interesting in that regard as well.
Great. Wayne 1.
Yes.
If you want to add anything about like,
Well, it's especially true because of the way we structure our classes. So class A is much more basic skills and basic props and all that kind of stuff too, if any. The open class is kind of intermediate, and world class is world class, of course. So there's a spot to do all those things. And and the other thing that's interesting, a little off topic, but one thing I love about all the WGI divisions is we have an advisory board that's made up of the members from championships, and they can propose any idea in the whole wide world, and it's discussed, it's voted upon, and if it passes, it goes to the executive board of WGI. And generally, if it doesn't isn't a financial concern or a policy that would be different in the three divisions that they want to keep the same, it's pretty much passed. So it's very much director driven.
Yeah, and we see as far as uniforms, we see groups that are wearing what they would wear in another season, or a very simple type of thing. I don't necessarily think people are going out and buying an entire outfit. What we do tend to see is a more of an intimate thing as far as the kids. You can see their faces. They're not wearing shakos. They don't, some of them might wear a headgear, but a lot of them will just go with, so you can actually see their faces and you can see what they look like when they're performing, which is very cool. And we are a lot closer as adjudicators to it than say it would be in a football stadium. So that part of it's pretty unique as well.
Right. Robert Lowry, did you have your hand up just
Yeah,
a few minutes ago?
Just another one. There is a testimonial video that's on the WGI website. I was trying to get that, but every time I click on it, it brings down the other videos because I wanted to promote the Women's Division here in the LA area. I wanted to use that video to get to directors. What's the best way to pull that one video out?
I think Wayne 2 may have sent me that. Is it the one where it starts with like a drone shot of like the UD Arena?
Yes.
Yeah. So actually, Wayne 2 actually sent that to me earlier today, and I think as a follow up, we'll definitely make that available. I'm assuming that that's already copyrighted. We don't have to worry about that, right, Wayne's?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. You can find it on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, Robert, we'll go ahead and put that on
So-
our YouTube channel later at the close of the meeting, for sure.
Okay.
So
Okay.
was the link broken going to that? Was that what the problem was?
No, every time I would click on to download just that one video, the other ones would come along with it.
Like a package.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me check with the office about that. And it's called testimonials.
Yeah, that's
All
the
right.
one that I really wanted. Yes.
Okay,
Awesome.
thanks.
We have the same problem with names too, in that we have two Michaels that I always have to deal with. So Michael Lightsky, do you have any questions or any?
No, I think you guys did a really good job of covering kind of the breadth of the Winds division, and I'm really excited to see the growth and kind of see, like, it feels like Winds is kind of like percussion was back in like the late 90s, where more and more groups are starting to participate in it, and it's going to start to take off and kind of move into it, its own thing, and just it's going to blow up nationwide. So I'm really excited to see that and see how it continues to develop, across the country. I'm fortunate to work in a lot of different circuits, and I've seen a lot of good groups, and really excited to see it take off a little bit more in the Southern California area. We've got so many programs in the area that I think would really benefit from having Winds as a part of their program in the spring to help develop fundamentals and reinforce fundamentals for those that may not have seen their students very much in the past few years. And I just think it's a really great performance outlet for students that otherwise may not have something to do in the spring, or it gives a little bit of variety to the typical concert band scene in the spring as well. So, all sorts of opportunities for people to participate and give your kids performance outlets and give them opportunities to showcase their skills. So thank you so much to Wayne and to Wayne for sharing everything with us and what the plans are for 2022 and beyond, and wealth of knowledge between the two of you. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Great.
Thank you.
And I want to encourage the folks, because I know we have some more less experienced folks that are jumping on. There's a golden opportunity. You have the two Waynes of WGI Wins to ask questions. A question that I have is that, especially for your A class, your novice groups, is it similar to, say, like percussion, where they're buying packages per se, I guess, for both the scores and for the drill? Like, is that like a way that a lot of groups that may not have a lot of experience, maybe to write their own show, obviously?
I haven't seen a whole lot of that, but they may be doing that. I know some of the original, I'll call it original music publishing websites, companies are offering that. So they may be doing that, which is for a young novice group, that can be a big savings and a great way to get it off the ground.
Yeah. I do know that there are people, I know that that's been going on for a few years now on the music side. And I think it's starting to happen on the visual side as well, which makes sense.
Yeah. Mr. Mora, you have a question?
I do. Being at least recognizing since the 2014 when WINS has been around, some of the early chatter was gathering instrumentation. A lot of times, and even members, a lot of times this is during concert festival season or performance season for our indoor performers and in our concert groups. Have you guys seen any issues with this early on, and has it changed since then? And what are current recommendations if someone's looking for, again, instrumentation, especially some of the independent groups, right? Who might not have the wind, they might have the winds, but they might have some of the percussion, or some of the ancillary things that they want to add to their program.
Yeah, I've seen groups come out, Brian, with just woodwinds. I mean, we've seen that without any brass. And again, with that program, you would imagine there was a need to do that. So again, it's one of those things, and where if that was a fantastic woodwind ensemble, that could score as high or as well and be as successful as anything else. So it's really unique in that way. And I don't know if I could say that if that would fly in the other activities. And do some groups have fully balanced instrumentation? Yeah, absolutely. They'll have a little bit of everything. But again, it's really what you have. It's really what your needs are. It's really what you want to get out on this floor and think that you can be successful with.
Good point. Thanks, gentlemen.
Great. I have a question about, I guess, the international participation. So actually, I'm in Southern California. I live in Pasadena, and I help out with the Rose Parade. I know that we had to put a pause this year. We're not having any international groups participating in the 2022 parade, because obviously travel is sort of up in the air, especially when they had to make plans. Are we seeing, I guess, at the WGI level, or are you also seeing a pause, like the international groups not being able to make the trip up here next spring?
Yeah, I think that's correct for us too. We have a very growing group called Indoor Music Games in the UK, and we've had 2 regionals over there, and that was just getting going when everything blew up in 2020. But I know they were starting to talk about some of their groups coming over to our championships, so we were real excited about that. But all that stuff's on the back burner right now. And we had a Costa Rica regional in 2019 and some other places, but you're right, for the same reasons, everything sold.
But it is going. I mean, there, as Wayne mentioned, Malaysia, one of our champions, Amachi, came over, and that they were a terrific example of what this thing could be. So let's hope it returns back to that.
Yeah. For both Waynes, and you guys have touched upon it a little bit, but what advice would you give to either, I guess, that hesitant band director, or even like say a school administrator or like a district performing arts coordinator as to like, it's, there's no value added to this. It's yet another activity, and that shouldn't they be focusing like on concert literature? But like, what kind of advice, or I guess, or even feedback, or like first person testimonials that you guys have gotten that directors sort of should be hearing about, or things that they can share with like their administrative staff?
Actually, I have one I could read that somebody sent this as a supporting document for somebody else. This is the quote: "Indoor Winds has positively transformed the band program at our high school. With an already strong tradition of winter guard, the addition of Indoor Winds Ensemble has strengthened both the technical skills and the overall musicality of the members. Winds enables reinforcement of skills taught in the concert setting as well." And I'm going to jump back to this. One piece of advice I always give is, more so than any other activity, the directors need to approach WGI Winds like a concert setting, like a concert band or a jazz ensemble, like an indoor. How would you balance things if you were in your rehearsal hall with your concert band? And we all say that marching band should be just a big concert band outside, but we kind of know that's not really true, and that people push the parameters. But the groups that are really successful take a very concert band or jazz ensemble approach. But back to my quote: "As well as more in-depth practice of the additional responsibilities of movement and performance in connection with these concert skills. During the wind seasons, the members are able to continue to execute the teamwork and camaraderie that they began to build during the fall marching season. The more the members are able to play and perform music together, the better the musicians they become. Winds has been an extremely positive experience for musicians at our high school."
Ed, you asked earlier like how the thing has changed from when we started. Yeah. And as Wayne was speaking, it reminded me of some of the evolving, steering committee realizations. And one of them was that when we started, they were just coming out, and the judges were hearing it for the first time in an indoor setting. And there was a realization for a lot of the wind players that they were trying to almost approach it like a marching band, like they were still playing outside. Yeah. And so that quickly was a situation, through the adjudication, through the critiques, through the discussion, like that's not going to work. And exactly like what Wayne Markworth said, it has to be approached as a concert sort of venue with, how would you play inside? And, and think about the opposite. When your marching season ends and you finally get the kids to open up, you can't do that when you come back inside, right? Yeah. It's good in that regard. It's very good in that regards, and that's where the fundamentals and the training and the emphasis on tone quality and intonation, and that has changed the sound of the WGI Winds for sure from 2014.
Great. And I want to remind people again, this is a great chance if you guys have any questions for both the Waynes. So I like to look into the future. So that's what I do professionally. But how do you guys what do you guys see Winds maybe even 5 years from now? I guess I know it's an open-ended question, but what do you see, I guess, or what are your expectations? Or I'll leave it to you guys. So for both of you guys, what do you see? What will Winds be like, or what will be driving Winds 5 years from now?
Wayne too?
Well, both.
All right, I'll start off.
Okay.
Well, I can imagine, as we continue to recover from our current situation, that the numbers will go up and it will continue. And as Mike Leitsky mentioned, that we'll see an exponential growth. And the other thing is, I just think the quality is going to get better. I don't know if you remember back when the percussion started, it was like the stepsister to the color guard. And they tagged on, and I sort of see the Winds, and now look at the percussion. I mean, it rules the world, right? And so I see the Winds sort of having that similar progression in quality, in scope, in size. And then who knows, maybe there will be sort of divisions. There could be, okay, you have all this and you do this, you're over here. And then I mean, we kind of already have that with the, the open and the world class and the A class, but I'm talking as far as even instrumentation, because and I know, like, it doesn't take long before people go, oh, if we're going to be successful, we got to do that. We got to have this. We got to do that. I mean, it's human nature. We tend to do that. We tend to gravitate to whatever that thing that's current or in vogue is, right? So, but right now, there's a real beauty and a purity and an innocence about it's whatever you want it to be. I mean, come on, you can't get a better canvas than that. Where it's whatever you want it to be as a director. That's pretty awesome.
And what I would add in is what I don't think will happen is I don't think we will go to a common instrumentation or a common use of the accompaniments. I think people are going to relish the diversity, if you will, of instrumentation and styles. I'm still waiting to hear a saxophone band. That's one of my dreams. I think that would be awesome, with 25 saxophones all the way from soprano down to bass sax. That would be very cool. Jazz ensemble on the move. Actually, we have seen a couple of those. Concert band. There was one group out of Nashville one year that did a concert band, and they started with folding metal chairs, and they moved them around, and they played concert music. And I wouldn't be surprised if they were playing the original concert version of it. So, like Wayne too said, the sky's the limit, and that's what I love about it.
Great. I think we could start wrapping up now. And I know, Wayne, I know you're coming out here at least 1 or 2 weekends. So I'm very much looking forward to your visiting us and providing your expertise, both to the percussion and the winds groups. And I know Mike Letsky has done a really outstanding job of putting our panels together, especially with a heavy emphasis on the educational aspect, in addition to national and regional judging credentials. So I know myself, and I'm pretty new in this role for the circuit, so I'm very excited about this season too. So Mike Letsky, before we hand it off to Brian Nunez for any last parting words. Mike, do you want to add anything? Oh, I got another question here from Robert. Hey, Robert.
Go ahead. Well, Brian can go first, whoever. No, I was a question about the reclassification. So I know we're coming from out of COVID, and some of these groups are going to be in a certain class. Do you see Wayne 1 or Wayne 2 that you guys are going to be doing some reclass if you see that they should not be in that class?
Well, we try to monitor that throughout the season in any season, so that they are in the correct class and the appropriate class for their skill level and for the level of what has been designed for them. So we're going to continue to do that. I think some groups may come out in, and I don't even want to call it a lower or higher, because I don't. It's not really a quality kind of thing. It's just the appropriate level. But I think some groups may move back from open to A, or maybe from world to open, just because of the setback they've had in skills for the last year and a half. So, but yeah, we're all about monitoring that all the way to the end of the season.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And then the other question is more like logistics at the shows. I know you guys, with us, we are kind of like the only winds group here in Southern California at the regional show. Is there like a placement where we can get a little more attention, spotlight versus, when we do perform? Because a lot of times it's like, we're in between, A and open percussion, and then like the crowd disperses. There's nobody really in the stands for the kids to perform to. So that's also with ADLA too. It's like, how can we better logistic in those shows to get more exposure for the winds?
That's a really good point, and that's talked about quite a bit, and I think that will come up again at our advisory board after this season. And I'm all for that, mixing it up. And occasionally for us, it does happen where the Class A percussion goes on first thing in the morning, and especially if there are a lot of them, and then they have their critiques while the winds do their performances. Part of it is just logistics and balancing all that out. But I agree with you, certainly.
And Robert, on a local level, I'd love to talk with you more about different ways that ADLA could participate in helping the Winds Division and your organization get some more exposure. So if you wouldn't mind reaching out to Ed and to Mike Stone, their email addresses are on the website. We can certainly start that conversation, and in any way that we can help help build that, we certainly want to do that for you.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And one change that we're doing already from the past couple seasons for ADLA is that usually Winds Championships has actually been the weekend of semifinals, which is often sometimes conflicting with what's going on with the WGI. But our intent, your Winds will be part of our championship weekend that we're planning, as Brian mentioned at Cal State Fulton as well too. Then we could also talk about when you do reach out to us, like scheduling is also because you are an independent group, and traditionally you do want to give exposure to independent groups have the high schools be able to see the independent groups when they perform. But we can talk about during the regular season when you do perform, where we allocate that. But like I said, the big change though is that Winds Championships will be part of the WGASC ADLA Championship weekend.
Yeah, I think we're in Dayton that weekend.
Oh no, it's the weekend after. It's April 30th.
Oh, that's right.
Yep,
And we're
April 30th.
back across the equipment.
Which we made sure. So it's one extra week, but it'll be part of the championship program. And that's one of the things that we insisted upon, Michael Letsky and I, when we were hammering out the schedule.
Okay,
not
great.
to conflict with Nathan.
Thank you.
Great. Michael Letsky, any last parting words as we wrap up here?
No, I'm just super excited to see how the Winds Division continues to develop. I hope that more people in Southern California will jump on board and be a part of this in the early portion of the the activity's existence. And it's really neat to think about some of those percussion teams that got on really early in Southern California, and thinking about how it transformed their band program and the level of quality that they were able to achieve just because of the groups, or because of their participation largely in the indoor percussion idiom. And it would be really cool to kind of see if it would have that same impact on everybody from the wind standpoint. And it certainly doesn't hurt the kids to play their instruments more and continue to refine their skill set and develop themselves. So I say bring it on. It's it's awesome to be an early adapter and get on board now.
Great. So before I hand it off to Brian for last parting words I have of the circuit, Wayne 1, Wayne 2, any parting advice or words of wisdom for us?
I don't know about words of wisdom, but one last thing is, and speaking for both the Waynes, we are happy to help in any way we can, and send us an email, contact us. I'm Wayne at WGI.org because I got there first. And Wayne Dillon is W.A. Dillon at WGI.org. And those are on the WGI website somewhere. But yeah, we look forward to seeing what comes out of here. And we thank you so much for your commitment.
Thank you.
Great. So Brian, I will hand it off to you.
Wayne 1, Wayne 2, thank you again so much for, I know it's later out there for you guys than it is out here on the West Coast. Thank you so much for taking the time tonight to talk with our wind community. Ed and Mike Leitsky, again, thank you so much for helping to prepare this conversation. Just a couple of quick notes and reminders before I let everyone go. Don't forget, registration is open. If you have questions about registration, questions about our refund policy, or anything at all, please feel free to reach out to support@wgasc.org. Don't forget, on December 11th, we have a free education clinic, which offers tracks for our color guard, winds, and percussion members. And again, this is free. It's going to be an exciting day of hands-on classes and discussion classes. Keep an eye out on our website and social media for that. And again, just recently announced our championships venue for ADLA winds and percussion is going to be at Cal State Fullerton this year. So we're looking forward to that. Again, thank you so much for joining us today. For all things WGASC, visit us at wgasc.org. Hope to see you at a show or an education clinic coming up soon. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
night, everyone.